2-2 on Votto. And a base hit into right. They're going to wave around ice. Here comes the throw. Reds win. Reds win. Reds win. Well, the rain has been with us off and on throughout the entire day in Cincinnati, and we welcome you to Great American Ballpark, a sellout crowd, standing room only crowd on hand today for Game 2 of this 3-game weekend series between the top 2 teams in the National League Central Division just moments ago. In fact, right now they're rolling up the tarp, and we're going to get started, it appears, very close to on time. A 4:10 scheduled pitch here today. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. What a game, what a win here last night for the Reds. And you turn back to the clock for a couple of key at-bats, Chris, in that 10th inning.
Well, you know, it's really started with a walk, believe it or not. I mean, sometimes strange things happen, but Edgar Renteria gave one of the better at-bats that you'll see from a Reds player so far this season. Jason Mott is throwing seeds up there. I mean, 96, 97 miles an hour. But look how Renteria works. It fouls off some really tough pitches and finally takes a walk in this at-bat. And when he does, you know, that really sets the pace for Joey Votto, because you know who's coming up next, the National League reigning MVP. Votto does the same thing. He gets behind early in the count. Mott, again, still throwing fastball after fastball. He's ahead now 1-2. Votto begins to foul pitches off, and he makes sure that when he gets a pitch, it's down in the zone, rips it in the hole. That's the ball game right there, as Chris Heisey comes around to score the winning run, and Joey Votto, a hero again.
Now, of course, in this series, there are so many storylines going back, particularly when you look at the game today, of the brawl that took place between these two teams last year. And it's the first time Johnny Cueto has faced the Cardinals, and here he is with the ball today.
Well, you know he's going to have some conflicting emotions out there. Number one, he's going to try to tell himself that it's just another ball game, but he knows deep inside it is not. These Cardinal players are going to be extra fired up for Cueto today. Lance Berkman may not know what's going on, but everybody else in that Cardinal station does. Hey, they'll be ready for Cueto. Will he be ready for them? That's the question.
Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, we're just moments away from the Reds and the Cardinals. Grounds crew hard at work preparing the field after removing the tarp just moments ago. What are we in store for weather-wise the rest of the day? Let's check in with our good friend Jeff Creighton.
Well, the Reds were able to pull one off in dramatic fashion yesterday. Extra inning game today. Mother Nature may play a game of her own. Showers and thunderstorms, a pretty good bet during the game. First pitch 73, 71 that seventh inning. Final out 70 degrees, and hopefully another Reds win.
Better believe that. And if Johnny Cueto was as good as he was his first start in Chicago on that last road trip, the Reds are in business.
You know, it's really amazing because in his rehab, Johnny Cueto did not throw all that well at all down in AAA. In fact, he had a hard time even getting 5 innings under his belt. But he came out against the Cubs with a great slider, good command of his fastball. That's all you can ask of him today. Give us about 90 to 100 pitches, get yourself into the 7th inning, and keep the Cardinals at bay.
All right, after celebrating deep into the night last night, the Battling Redlegs trying to tee him up and get another win over St. Louis and move into first in the Central. Agents are there when you need them. Find an agent or get a quote at statefarm.com. By your local Ford dealer. Ford, drive one. By the Regional Tourism Network. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline. Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. Johnny Cueto just now making his way to the Reds' first base side dugout from the bullpen. Making his second start of his 2011 year after being activated from a disabled list last week. And our Honda standings going into play today. A Reds win, Mr. Welsh, means they sit atop the National League Central where they finished in 2010.
Well, they've done pretty well overall, Tom, recently. Well, what they haven't done in the last couple of years is taking care of the Cardinals. Maybe that statement by winning from behind last night, coming from more than 4 runs or more 3 times this year, is a statement that they're looking for. But you're right, they're a half a game out of first place. With a couple of wins here, they can send the Cardinals packing in second place, and that's what their goal is.
Now, Chris, you pitched in the major leagues for a number of years. For Johnny Cueto today, and, you know, how much he's carrying around from that brawl last year is really anybody's guess. He's not going to sit down and talk about it, and probably not going to be all that upfront and honest about it in the way he feels about what took place. He claims he was pinned up against, you know, the screen behind the plate last year, and to quote him, an angry mob sort of shoving him back, and did the first thing that came to mind, and now we start kicking people. Well, of course, the Cardinals didn't like what happened at all. They were very upset about it, and Cueto had that 7-game suspension on the heels of that brawl.
Well, he was fortunate, in my opinion, that he only had a 7-game suspension. I think what he did last year by kicking like that was really uncalled for. But the good thing from Johnny Cueto's standpoint is all of this happened last year in 2010, has no bearing at all. Now, if it had happened last week, different story. It would be fresh in your mind. Your emotions will still be raging pretty high. But I think he's had plenty of time all winter long to cool down about it. The Reds have already been in St. Louis, and he's already had a game here in Great American Ballpark to watch last night. I don't think last year's brawl will really have anything to do with him at all.
Let's take a look at Joe Petitti, the acting manager, with Tony La Russa still back in St. Louis, suffering, of course, from a case of shingles. We wish him a speedy recovery. Ryan Theriot leads off at short. He's back in the lineup today. Colby Rasmussen center. Albert Pujols at first. Matt Holliday in left field, the cleanup hitter. Lance Berkman in right. Yadier Molina behind the plate. Daniel Descalso is at third. Tyler Green moves over to second. And Kyle McClellan, with a record of 5-0, is on the mound for St. Louis. And here are the numbers from last season, his best season in the major leagues, for Johnny Cueto.
Well, Johnny Cueto was very good last year. He threw 185 innings. That's the tops that he has thrown ever in the major league. So you got to figure he's able to give you some innings this year. He gave up 19 home runs. He's also a guy that is not afraid to pitch inside. He's always among the league leaders in batters hit by pitchers. So we'll see if he's got his control working today or not. And incidentally, the Reds are 7-2 in Cueto's 9 most previous starts against the Cardinals.
Strike one on the outside corner to Ryan Theriot, and we're underway. Sellout crowd on hand here today. Many of them late arriving due to the weather. And that one taken up and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Standing room only tickets, in fact, went on sale earlier this morning here at Great American Ballpark. Breaking ball in there. Strike 2 to Theriot, who's been plagued with a injured oblique muscle that he re-aggravated in the series prior to this one against his former team, the Cubs. And he was not in the lineup for the opener of the series last night. 2-2 on Theriot. Cueto just 25 years young, making his second start of this year. We told you he began the year on the 15-day disabled list, going back to spring training with irritation in his right biceps/triceps area. What a debut at Wrigley Field, the last road trip, and not a good start against the Cardinals as he walks Theriot. Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Johnny Gomes is back in the lineup today. Out in left field, Stubbs and Bruce joined them. Paul Janisch back at shortstop for the first time in 9 games. He starts there. And a battery of Cueto and Ramon Hernandez. Can you run against Johnny Cueto?
Well, yes, you can run against Johnny Cueto, but Ramon Hernandez has thrown the ball extremely well this year, especially in being able to shut down the running game. So give your catcher half a chance and you'll be okay.
Theriot, a perfect 4 out of 4, and here's a slow roller. They're going to get the lead runner, and that's it. So Rasmus rolls into a fielder's choice, and an early test on that injured ankle for Paul Janisch, who, by the way, during batting practice today, got hit on the knee with a batted ball. Of course, you and I were here at the time, and boy, you're sitting there going, is this guy going to catch a break?
I went down to the clubhouse and saw him afterwards, Tom. What we thought was the knee was actually the shin. He got a pretty good shin burger, about 4 inches right below the knee, but you could see the swelling at it. And he looked at me and just shook his head and said, man, oh man, can you believe that? I said, well, we saw it from up in the booth. Are you okay? He said, yeah, it's painful, but I'm okay.
Now Albert Pujols, he looks at a first pitch strike at the belt. 7 home runs, 24 batted in. Pujols, a .273 batter, was on base 3 times, 2 hits and a walk. Stole a base and scored a run. What a game here last night. We played nearly 4 hours. Going into extra innings, and the Reds roaring back from a 4-0 deficit to tie it in the last of the ninth, win it in the bottom of the 10th. Struck him out. Boy, that's a nice pitch there from Cueto. Fastball that ran in and just tied him up.
That's one of the things you love about Cueto is not necessarily the velocity, but the movement on that pitch. He really tried to bury the ball inside on Albert Pujols the entire at bat, taking the strength away from Pujols. Everybody wants to extend their arms when you're a big time hitter, and Albert is no different.
Holiday right in the middle of everything here last night. Had 3 hits, knocked in 2 runs, scored a run. And off to one of the best starts of his outstanding major league career. Here's a harmless bouncer that will end the inning. So no damage after a leadoff walk. Reds coming up when we return. Baker starting lineup. Drew Stubbs in center. Paul Janisch in the 2-hole with Joey Votto batting third. Brandon Phillips again in the cleanup spot. Jay Bruce in right. And Scott Rowland again batting 6th after returning from a DL last night. Johnny Gomes batting 7th, followed by Ramon Hernandez and Johnny Cueto against Kyle McClellan.
Got a big right-hander, perfect 5-0.
And our Farmers Insurance report card on Kyle McClellan.
With a nice earned run average, only 15 walks, 22 strikeouts for McClellan, but he has pitched on the right day. Kyle McClellan is getting a lot of run support. We'll show you how much run support in just a moment. But sometimes it's not how you pitch, it's when you pitch. And Kyle McClellan, how about 7 runs a game in his support? That is tops in the National League. Jaime Garcia also on that list of a guy getting a lot of runs with which to work.
And certainly not just a coincidence that both of them have already won 5 games this year without a loss between them.
Well, you have to be able to still keep your team in the ball game, but you know, when you get ahead early and you get ahead by a lot early, it takes so much of the strategy out of the game. It takes the hit and run away sometimes. It takes a sacrifice bunt. Teams have to play back, playing for a big inning, and it makes it a lot easier to put a W on the board, especially when you've got a struggling bullpen.
Breaking ball upstairs to Drew Stubbs. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Of course, McClellan has pitched 1 game out of the bullpen, and who could forget that game?
Well, if you call it a bullpen game, that was the rain gate game over in St. Louis, when there was a little discrepancy as to, well, whatever story you want to believe, but the bottom line was that at the very last minute, the Cardinals had decided to start Batista as their starting pitcher. He's a long man in the bullpen, and they kept McClellan for later in the game. As it turned out, 6 pitches into the ball game, the game was stopped for a long rain delay, and when it was restarted, McClellan took them out. I call it a start. Technically, it's a relief appearance,
yes,
but still he went on to pitch 6 innings in that ball game. And by the way, he shut the Reds down, and the Cardinals won 4-2.
3-2 on Stubbs. And a jam shot down the left field line. Foul.
This is Kyle McClellan's first year as a starting pitcher. He started in the minor leagues a little bit, so he knows what it's all about there. But, you know, that was one of the things the Cardinals had to decide early on. When Adam Wainwright came to spring training and his arm blew up and he ended up having to have Tommy John surgery, they needed somebody to step in, and he's been big time for them.
Back up through the middle, and that's under the glove of Terrio, and Stubbs aboard to begin the Reds' first inning. St. Louis on defense, presented by Ford. Rasmus flanked by Holiday and Lance Berkman. Descalso, Terrio, Green, Pujols, third to first, and Molina rock solid behind the plate. But now with McClellan such a big guy and a rather awkward delivery to the plate, as good as Yadier Molina is, it appears as though it takes McClellan a while to get that ball to the plate.
It does. There were 8 successful stolen bases off McClellan last year out of 10 attempts, so you can do it. But Yadier Molina is among the best in the business.
And Bruce Stubbs is among the best in the business. 12 out of 13 in stolen base attempts so far this year.
That's a play you really have to be aware of if you're a base runner, because Yadier Molina throws behind the runner better than any catcher in the game. That little flick throw right there, he really didn't even step to make the throw. He just kind of got the ball, bunted through by Giannis, and then boom, flat-footed fires it on down there. So never take your eye off the ball.
Pitch out, thinking Stubbs might be running. 1-1. Giannis batting in the 2 spot for the first time this season. Of course, Edgar Renteria, one of the heroes last night, had started a season-high 8 straight games at short. And ball is in the air, and Berkman has it. 1 out. Now the hero last night, the reigning National League MVP. Here comes Joey Votto. Much like Renteria, 2 of the heroes last night, didn't look very good early in the game. Renteria was hitless in his first 3 at bats, did not hit the ball out of the infield. Votto struck out each of his first 2 times up against Kyle Loesch. But then Votto doubled in the 6th inning, walked in the 7th. His ground out led to the tying run in the 9th inning, and had the game-winning hit in the 10th against Jason Mott. Clearly, McClellan does not have the kind of move that, I mean, barring starting too soon and breaking before he either comes over to you or goes to the plate, you're going to have a hard time picking somebody off. And there goes Stubbs. And that ball is hit into left field, tailing away from Holiday. But he's able to get it for the 2nd out of the inning.
Well, you know, Tom, most right-handed pitchers, all they try to do with their move is to keep the running game under control. Rarely do you see a right-handed pitcher pick off a good base runner unless the guy's just simply daydreaming. In fact, more often than not, eventually if you throw over there enough, you're going to throw the ball down the right field line. But what McClellan did, he was able to shorten up the lead just slightly on Drew Stubbs. Just enough maybe to try to give Yadier Molina a chance. As it turned out with the fly ball to left, it didn't matter. That's one thing the Reds will try to exploit. If you got your fastest guy on base, you want to push the running game whenever you can.
A leadoff single by Stubbs, but McClone has retired Yadish and Votto consecutively, and here's Brandon Phillips. He's behind strike one.
And even with 2 outs, not a bad idea for Stubbs, because the worst could happen is that you throw Stubbs out at second base and Brandon Phillips leads the next inning off.
Swung on and fouled out of play, and McClellan in front, 0-2.
Interesting that the first 2 outs that Kyle McClellan has recorded here this afternoon have come on fly balls. He is one of the more prolific ground ball pitchers this year in the National League. He is 11th on the list, getting a ground ball rate of about 67%. So he usually keeps it down, which is always a good idea in this ballpark.
Breaking ball in the dirt, smothered by Molina. 1-2 on Phillips. First time we've seen a little bit of blue skies the entire day today. We'll keep our fingers crossed that Mother Nature stays cooperative. Off Stubbs over at first base, and Stu Pools making sure he's all right. So the inning is over. No score, end of 1. For serious injuries, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. And a much anticipated move officially made before the game today. The Reds activate Jose Arredondo, the former Anaheim Angel, coming all the way back from Tommy John surgery, activated off the 15-day disabled list. You see his numbers in the minors. And the first time ever in his professional career that Mike Leake will pitch in minor league baseball. Been working out of the Reds bullpen since the return of Cueto and Homer Bailey. In fact, we saw him here last night. And Dusty Baker said before the game it was one of the hardest meetings he has ever made as a manager. Was telling Mike Leake he was being sent down to AAA Louisville.
You know, one of the things I think that Mike Leake really, he's a young man with a lot of talent and a lot of pride. And one of the things that he really liked about the fact of the way that they brought him up to the major leagues, that he had never spent a day in the minors, and he never wanted to spend a day in the minor leagues. And you know, it's one of those things that you have transactions in baseball that oftentimes happen not because of what happens on the diamond, but because of some administrative problem where you have a guy coming off the disabled list, and you may not be the one who deserves the most to be sent down, but oftentimes it works out that way. And you know, in spring training they call it a numbers game, but those numbers game continues on through the regular season as well. Anybody who's been up and down the major leagues long enough will have always experienced the wrong end of that.
Very good numbers for Berkman against Cueto. Of course, he has good numbers against virtually every Reds pitcher. He had the 5 career home runs against last night's starter, Bronson Arroyo.
Well, the thing that stands out for me with the numbers against Berkman against Johnny Cueto is his on-base percentage. I mean, it is something like .580. So he walks a lot, he sees Cueto pretty well, and he hits him well.
Not this time. That pitch 8, Berkman up. 1 out.
Johnny so far pitching very effectively on the inner part of the plate, both the right-handers and left-handers. Yadier Molina's got to feel like he's pretty honored out there, getting the kind of reception that he's getting here at Great American Ballpark. I mean, that's a pretty vociferous boo.
Well, of course, all that goes back to the incident last year when Brandon Phillips walked up to the plate and does as he always does his first time up, and he's digging in the batter's box. He taps the shin guard of the opposing catcher. Well, after the comments Brandon had made leading up to the series, Yadier Molina wasn't interested in being on friendly terms with Brandon Phillips and took issue when he did just that before his first at bat.
Let's take a look at it. This is last year, the tap. He kicked it away once and Brandon went back one more time. A lot of talking, not a lot of action.
Molina, one of the biggest at-bats in the game last night. I mean, undeniably, in the top of the 7th inning, the Cardinals were on the verge of just blowing the game wide open. And runners at second and third, and the Reds elected to intentionally walk Lance Berkman. They had already scored a run. They had him loaded with only 1 out, and on the very first pitch of the at-bat, Molina hit a 1-hopper back to the mound that turned into a 1-2-3 inning-ending double play. Reds came back, scored twice in the bottom of the 7th inning, and Molina is gone looking.
Johnny Cueto looked like he reached back for a little extra on this pitch. And he did too at 96 miles an hour. That ball starts off the plate. Look at the action. That ball comes right back onto the corner.
So 2 away in the inning, and here's Descalso. The Reds got their first real look at him last night. He looked pretty good. He had 2 hits and 5 at bats. Both hits driving in runs, and both RBIs coming with 2 out in an inning.
Tell you what, he's got some pretty good minor league numbers, Descalso does. I mean, never a guy that's going to hit a lot of home runs for you, but he's always had a pretty good batting average in the minor leagues. Good contact hitter.
Down to Votto, and Cueto a perfect inning.
But certainly when you play the number one team in your division, you want to compete at your best. And we won the division last year, and we really want to we don't want to give it up. So we're going to fight for it.
Our guy go direct quote from Joey Votto with Jeff Piecoro right after the game-winning hit here last night. All right, so Brandon to lead things off after Stubbs was picked off to end the bottom of the first inning. Scoreless game. We're in the second. Shows you what I knew about Kyle McClellan.
Well,
Drew Stubbs.
Second time he's picked the runner off so far this year. I'm really surprised that Stubbs was able to get picked off, but it was a perfect throw, a good quick tag by Albert Pujols, and I would imagine if Stubbs is able to get on one more time against McClellan, he may shorten it up a hair. Well, they're really playing, at least the center fielder's playing way over in right center against Brandon Phillips, thinking that he's just going to take that ball the other way. He's got all the room in the world in between the center fielder and the left fielder.
And he hammers one into left center field. Going back to the wall. Holiday, goodbye. Number 5 for Brandon Phillips in a 1-0 Cincinnati lead. That's right out there where they didn't think he was going to hit it.
Well, you're right about that. And he went way down to get that pitch, too. Brandon Phillips, we've seen a number of his home runs come on pitches that are down almost out of the strike zone this year. Take another look at this one. He goes down to get this pitch. Not at all of a bad pitch. If you're Kyle McClellan, you're thinking, hey, that ball's down around your ankles.
Popped up to the third baseman, Descalso. One out as Bruce is retired. Well, you saw those numbers for Phillips before that home run. Against St. Louis so far in 4 games this year, and there is very little debate. He is public enemy number 0 in St. Louis. Based on the comments he made about the Cardinals last year and the situation which ensued, the benches clearing brawl last year with Yadier Molina. There's a fly ball to short left center, and Rasmus has it to retire, rolling 2 away. It's one thing to talk the talk. It's another thing to walk the walk. And right now, Brandon Phillips is relishing that role of being the guy that the Cardinals root most against.
There aren't many guys that can come across bragging or cocky and then back it up. And Brandon Phillips might be one of those. He was pretty much AWOL against the Cardinals last year. He batted down around 230. And in 72 at-bats last year, he drove in a total of 4 runners against the Cardinals. But this year, completely different. Came into this ball game with a .353 batting average against, and add to it with that dinger that he just left the yard with.
Now Johnny Gomes, a .193 batter. He came on as a pinch hitter, of course, last night. He's just been mired in such a terrible slump. And of course, it has sparked a great deal of debate on talk show radio and the writers who cover the team on a daily basis, and wondering, how much more rope will Johnny Gomes get in terms of regular playing time from Dusty Baker, and he is gone swinging to end the inning. But Brandon Phillips puts the Reds on the board, a solo home run and a 1-0 lead. In the Reds' second inning to take a 1-0 lead. And speaking of power, it's our pleasure to welcome in one of our favorite people with us on the Reds Caravan, the sponsor of the Reds Caravan, Linda Antis, the president of CincinnatiUSA.com. I love your jersey. Turn around.
Thank
Let everybody
you.
see the back of this.
Absolutely.
Number 10.
Number 10. This is my. I'm the Sparky of the Cincinnati Regional Tourism Network.
Everybody needs a leader,
cool.
Linda.
And you are very much at. I mean, you're one of the great ambassadors, if not the great ambassador for our great city here in Cincinnati. And you were talking a little while ago. There's so much going on, and we had a lengthy discussion, in fact, before you came up here about CincinnatiUSA.com, and for so many people in particular who live in quote-unquote Reds country and beyond, as there's a base hit by Tyler Green to begin the inning. And how now with gas prices being what they are, you know, maybe a family's thinking about going to Florida, where all of a sudden they're thinking different about that. You know, maybe they were going to South Carolina or all the way up to Michigan, whatever it is. But now all of a sudden you say, you know, maybe we can't do that. There's a lot going on here, and you're calling it a power hitting season in Cincinnati, right?
This is a power hitter season, and you know, you guys are obviously leading it off, and with more games like last night and what's already going on today, very exciting. You know, we've got some interesting power hitters for the family, for actually some great fun for all ages. And one of my favorite power hitters this year is the Cleopatra exhibit at the Cincinnati Museum Center. It is such an awesome presentation of one of the most powerful women of any era. Talk about a woman who ruled the men, who ruled the world. I think one of my favorite parts, though, is that when you tour through it, you actually have headsets, and Cleopatra speaks to you as if she were telling you the story of her life and her relationship. It's quite awesome. But the exhibit is the second city in the nation here at the Cincinnati Museum Center, and the only Midwest city. So please come see Cleopatra at the Cincinnati Museum Center.
See, we were having a hearty debate about this, and you know, Cincinnati and the magazine, I believe it was Condé Nast, I could be wrong, but last year was ranked in all of North America, not just the United States, North America, in the top 5 cities for the arts in the United States, or in North America. That's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive. The arts and culture scene here rivals Chicago, LA, New York. I mean, we are an arts and cultural heritage city. Between our professional sports and our arts, it's a place to be.
In the air down to right field line, it's caught by Jay Bruce. There's so many other things. You know, we talk about the zoo, where it's one of the top 10 zoos in the United States of America. In fact, if I remember correctly, it led all zoos in America in the most births last year. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. And of course, it's also the world's sexiest zoo. And what's going on right now?
I wasn't going to use that word. You know, Chris likes to use that word a lot.
But you
he's
know,
a sexy man.
You need to. You need to go see Zuri.
Do you agree with that? He's a sexy man, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm sitting between two very handsome men here. It's very exciting to be here. Be still, my heart.
Well, we talk about the zoo, and we know about the aquarium over in Newport. A lot going on over there this summer.
The Penguin Palooza exhibit, brand new exhibit at the aquarium. And actually, I was talking to Cowboy and Marty about a week ago.
Never heard of that.
And Cowboy talked all about how his family just loved the penguin exhibit. So you got to stop over to the Newport Aquarium. And then, of course, you know, Newport on the Levee has all of the other fun things, shopping, dining, and playing, in addition to what you can do at the aquarium.
All right, so, Linda, what you really would like to have people do is to log on to your website, CincinnatiUSA.com.
Yes.
And when you get on there, I mean, do you have any discounts or any specials for those people that log on and maybe want to go to Kings Island or to the aquarium or any of the attractions that are around?
Absolutely. CincinnatiUSA.com is the largest travel portal in the region. And so you're going to find anything you want for any season of the year. Absolutely. You got it right here. I love it. And yes, we have some special offers right now. The zoo has a brand new package. And of course, we have our Reds half price. So if you're going to book your hotel, you get half price on Reds tickets, which is an awesome thing. So then you come for the Reds and you stay for the other fun.
You know, the thing I like that you guys do, Linda, and I know it's so important to be able to do it, makes sense to do it, but, you know, if you're a guy like me and I'm coming in from out of town and I have 2 kids that, you know, are 6 and 7 years old, you're going to have everything that we might think about doing, and a lot of things we'd have never thought about doing on your website to go do if you're bringing your kids along.
Yes.
But it might be, you know, you and your wife, might be you and some of your friends for a weekend for some fun. Stick around with us. We'll have you in the bottom of the inning. You might want to slide a little bit over from Chris. Visit your local Lowe's to cast your MLB All-Star ballot and enter to win a trip to the All-Star game in Arizona. Compliments of Scott's. High drive left center field. Oh, brother. 2-0 Reds. Home run for Ramon Hernandez.
Power hitter, power hitter. Woo!
Well, what a year this guy's having.
Very exciting.
Well, he jumps all over it, too. It looks like it's a cutter that Kyle might know. It's not a cutter. That's just a fastball at 87 miles an hour. And Ramon Hernandez has proved to anybody who is worth watching him will tell you he can hit a fastball, especially when it's up in the zone like that. I told him that in the clubhouse today. He smiled as he walked by me. He says, maybe I'll hit one today.
Well, he did.
And a long way.
And a power hitting summer thanks to our friends at CincinnatiUSA.com and the Regional Tourism Network. Their president is Linda Antis, great sponsor of Reds baseball and a great friend, the sponsor of our Reds Caravan during the offseason, which has met with unbelievable popularity. You know, one or two things I wanted to ask you about for this upcoming summer. First ever NASCAR event in Greater Cincinnati over at the Kentucky International Speedway.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a misplay by Terrio. Now, for some of the folks who are thinking about coming in, I would imagine that's going to be an unbelievably busy weekend, right?
It is going to be an awesomely busy weekend. It will be packed, and it's the weekend right after the 4th of July. So it's going to be a huge week to 10 days that begins with the 4th of July holiday and then moves right into the 3-day special NASCAR race at the Speedway. Very exciting times for us.
And, you know, looking ahead to next summer, we talk about what one of the great cities in all of North America, Cincinnati, is for the arts. Next year, the first time ever in the United States that a city will host the World Choir Games. Now, to some, they might say World Choir. I mean, come on. This is an enormous event.
This is an enormous event. This is all sorts of music. It's a celebration of multicultural music connecting the globe. First time, as you said, in the United States. We'll have over 20,000 performers. We'll have from 400 different countries. We will have hundreds of thousands of visitors from all around the world coming to visit us here in Cincinnati, USA. It's a very exciting event. You'll hear more and more about it as time moves through this summer. A very special one-year-out event will happen around July 11th this year. So stay tuned and come and see us for that.
All right, now one thing I'm going to ask you about before I let you get out of here, because I took our kids, my wife and I did last year, over to the Crone Conservatory up there in Eden Park, right by Mount Adams. And Lord knows I've seen a lot of butterflies around Mount Adams back in my day. But in this case, we went in, and the butterflies at the conservatory were from China. This year, they're from Brazil. What's the difference between a butterfly from Brazil and China?
The music.
Oh, you got an answer for that.
Actually, they're quite delicate and beautiful, but truly, the event is quite a multi-sensory event. There is wonderful music that accompanies the event this year.
All right, so then those are just some of the things to look for. And again, log on to CincinnatiUSA.com.
Right.
You can come for the Reds and stay for the fun.
More fun.
It's always so nice to see you.
So great to be with you guys today. Thanks so much, Tom.
Great to
Chris,
see you, Linda.
appreciate it.
All right, have a great weekend.
All right.
Come back
too.
and see us.
We will.
Linda, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Our president of CincinnatiUSA.com, with so much great stuff, and log on for lots more. Wow, bit of a surprise there. Paul Giannis swinging away with first and second and nobody out, and pops up.
Well, the only thing I can think about that, Tom, is that if he bunts the runners over, the Cardinals just may take advantage of that, of an open base at first, and intentionally walk Joey Votto. Here they will pitch to Votto with a couple of runners on. Tell you what, I've logged on to that CincinnatiUSA.com website. It's a nice one. I suggest you get on it to plan your next family vacation, Tom Brenneman.
Believe me, when I'm looking for something to do, especially with the kids, I mean, you can be a local and log on to CincinnatiUSA.com. I mean, it'll tell you everything going on. I mean, there could be book readings, there could be small little theaters in and around town that we have here.
Find some restaurants you may not know about.
Well, that's for sure. Swinging a foul ball out of play off to the third base side.
Did you drop a book readings on me?
I did. I mean, to take little kids to that kind of thing, they love it.
Yeah.
When they bring in a well-known author of children's books, especially in a lot of places around town, bookstores, libraries, they have things like that every single weekend. And the kids love it. 1-1 to Joey Votto. Thought about it. They appeal, and no, says Mike DeMuro. Andy Fletcher behind the plate today. Tim Welke at first, Jim Reynolds at second. That's a foul ball. 2-2 to Votto. Home run to begin the inning by Ramon Hernandez. Cueto reaches on an error by Ryan Theriot. And certainly if there are two areas of major concern with this Cardinal team, and they might end up winning the division by 20 games. But last night, got to look at their bullpen, which is among the major league leaders in blown saves, and certainly their defense. Now, don't be fooled necessarily by fielding percentage and number of errors. People who watch this team regularly will tell you there are major issues defensively for the Cardinals. They've allowed the second most unearned runs in the entire National League already this year. Breaking ball low and in, 3-2 to Votto.
Well, he is pitching very carefully to Joey Votto, knowing a long ball right here might put this game out of reach. At least the way that Johnny Cueto's throwing the baseball.
They all pitch to Votto. Right back to the mound, and this will be a double play to end the inning. How about that? Huge at bat there for McClellan. 2-0 game. Today's game on Fox Sports Ohio brought to you by JTM Food Group, proudly serving America's restaurants, schools, retailers, and our military around the world. JTM Food Group, by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers, where you can register to win a Tundra at Great American Ballpark. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by John Deere. Visit your local Cincinnati John Deere dealer this Deere season.
Well, get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game with the Emmy Award-winning Reds live on Fox Sports Ohio. And when the Reds are at home, watch the show live from our set on the main court concourse down the third base line right behind the stands there. That's Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing.
2-0 ball game. Reds in front. Cardinals bat against Johnny Cueto, top of the fourth inning. Had a lot of rain earlier this morning. And even rain just a short time before the first pitch. But it stopped. The grounds crew naturally on top of their game, as they are every day here at Great American Ballpark. Took that baby off, rolled it up, made sure everything was ready to go, and here we are. Right now, quite nice. Two, 3, and 4 in the batting order for the Cardinals. Colby Rasmus looks at a fastball strike from Johnny Cueto. He's just allowed one hit through the front three. Of course, that was the story here last night. In fact, Bronson Arroyo did not allow a single hit in the first 3 innings. And ironically enough, it was Rasmus who led off the fourth inning with a hit. And that would be the first of 4 hits, plating 3 runs against Arroyo in that fourth inning. Pools to follow, and then Matt Holliday. that fastball on the outside edge, and it didn't miss by much, but it missed.
One thing Johnny Cueto is doing very well today from a mechanical standpoint, really staying over the rubber, staying back on his back leg a long time. When most pitchers get into trouble, they fly open. They fly open with their front shoulder, and they don't stay on the rubber long enough or stay over the rubber and balance, really get loaded up with their legs and their midsection, the core right there, really coiling nicely. His direction of the plate is good. Make a play, Tom.
What a play.
Ron Roth.
An official score here at Great American Ballpark. Of course, he's been affiliated forever and a day with the Moeller baseball program. That's Ron with a vest on. Sitting next to him, of course, in a light blue shirt, the legendary head baseball coach for Moeller High School, Mike Cameron.
Here's the play right there. I mean, when the ball comes up this high, it's coming up with something on it. Little bobble, but a clean catch.
Indeed. And Coach Cameron applauding. How many state championships did he win at Moeller?
I have no idea.
A lot of them. I mean, a lot of them. Just stepped away a couple of years ago. And the year that he stepped down, the guy who took over for him won the state championship the very next year.
Yeah.
Mike Cameron had a chance to coach guys like Barry Larkin, Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, it'd been a whole pile.
Buddy Bell, Lenny Matuzik,
David Bell, Andrew Brackman.
Yeah.
I think that was the last state championship team that Coach Cameron had. Of course, the #1 pick by the New York Yankees, Andrew Brackman, and on the verge of cracking their rotation. Pujols struck out his first time up. And there's a jam shot roller down to Votto. Boy, that's two impressive at bats for Cueto against Pujols. I'm going to take a look at our AT&T trivia question today. Since 2009, what two National League players have led their team in all the big stuff? It's got to be the two guys here, right?
You would think so.
Talking about Votto and Pujols.
Boy, he's got a nice slider today. Same way he had it in Chicago during his first start. I mean, it's really amazing to me for a guy to go down the minor leagues, and Dusty Baker touched on it when he was down there struggling, saying, you know, it's not easy for big leaguers to go down there and dominate. Those teams are really pumped up. They know they've got a big leaguer on the mound. They try extra hard. And Homer Bailey went down and pitched lights out during his rehab assignment. Johnny Cueto, quite frankly, did not. But you put him in a big league ballpark on a big league mound, he was dealing against the Cards, and he's dealing again here today.
1 and 2 on Holiday, 2 down, nobody on. Boy, that's abuse right through the heart of the order. Not a ball hit out of the infield. Reds player hits our Toyota sign during the game today. William Moran of Milford, Ohio, who currently drives a 2011 Corolla, will win the beautiful new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win it at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Brandon Phillips, first pitch swinging to open up the bottom half of the fourth inning. He homered leading off the second, but this time a pop-up into short right. Fox Sports Ohio's Hall of Fame baseball writer Hal McCoy standing by right now at foxsportsohio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and safeauto.com. Jay Bruce popped up to the third baseman, Descalso, his first time up. One and one to Jay Bruce. Jay, a .243 batter going into play today, does have 8 home runs and 21 runs batted in. Good pitch to hit right there. 88 right down the can and fouled it back.
Really dropped his shoulder a little bit on that, kind of looped his swing. That's what, you know, Jay's really not quite on it. He showed some signs of coming out of it. He's tremendously strong when he squares it up. I'm still trying to find a consistent path to the ball.
Hard, but Pujols able to backhand it. And Bruce retired. The first 2 are gone here in the Reds' 4th inning. Reds have scored in each of the last 2 innings on leadoff home runs against McClellan. And they were in line for a big inning in the 3rd. They already had the home run by Ramon Hernandez and had 2 on. With only 1 out and Joey Votto coming up, and Votto bounced into a double play to end the inning. In the air, foul territory and out of play. That's a base hit into right field by Rowland. The Reds have a hit in every inning against McClellan, who gives up a hit an inning.
Well, you're talking about a guy that comes off the disabled list hot as a firecracker. Scott Rowland, 3 hits last night. Already a hit today. 4 hits in a game and a half since coming off the list. Who needs rehab anyway? Johnny Gomes going through one of those streaks where every time he takes a pitch, it's right down Broadway, and every time he swings at it, it's a good breaking ball from a pitcher standpoint.
One and one to Johnny Gomes. And
is over. Ground out to third base. One hit, one left. Go to the fifth. Reds lead 2-0.
Sports Ohio, on to the fifth inning we go. Jim Day with you just beside the Reds dugout. Let's give you a quick update on catcher Ryan Hannigan. Scary moment in last night's game. He was beamed on the right hand and left the game, was in extensive pain at the time. Good news, though, on that front. You see the big wrapping that he had on that hand. He got hit on the heel of the right hand. Now, the good news is that the X-rays were negative. He's actually out there between innings catching Johnny Cueto when Hernandez is putting his gear on. I talked to Ryan Hannigan. He iced it extensively last night and today, and he even showed me that hand and was surprised that the swelling wasn't as severe as he expected. You might even see him into the game today on a double switch, and Dusty Baker says he'll definitely catch Travis Wood tomorrow. So good news as we go back upstairs to the Champion Windows broadcast booth.
Great stuff as always, Jim Day. Lance Berkman, meanwhile, leads off the fifth inning with the Reds leading 2-0 and pops one up to Johnny Gomes.
Boy, throwing a lot of strikes is Johnny Cueto. I mean, after walking the first batter, Ryan Theriot, to start the ball game, he has just pounded the strike zone.
That ball hit hard by Molina. Unable to get to it as Stubbs. That might be the hardest hit ball of the game, and there have not been very many.
Well, they're out there hacking early in the count because they know Johnny Cueto's got a put-away slider. I mean, if you get 2 strikes on a right-handed hitter and you have his kind of slider, that's not the good feeling that you want to be in the batter's box. That's why the Cardinals are up there being so aggressive right now. They're looking for fastballs early. They're getting them early, but they're not centering it.
Cueto needing just 3 pitches to get 2 outs here in the fifth inning, and now Descalso squares around a bunt and takes high for a ball. Cardinals have 1 hit, and that was by Tyler Green to lead off the third inning. Boy, not only the slider, the location, the pitch efficiency, but there's still gas on that fastball.
Well, you know, how nice would it be to be able to just rear back and with a nice easy delivery and throw it like Johnny Cueto. He has thrown it as hard as 96. He's working around 93 and 94. That's not a bad way to go.
An 8-pitch inning for Johnny Cueto. My, oh my, is he sharp today in a 2-0 Reds lead. So if you're looking to finish off your basement, log on to foxsportsohio.com and bid on a basement finishing system from the Basement Guy. It's valued at $20,000. Go to foxsportsohio.com and place your bid. Ramon Hernandez led off the third inning with a home run. This one's in the air. Rasmus drifting. Warning track. Wall. See it. Second time Hernandez has led off an inning with a first pitch home run today.
Take another look at the swing that Ramon puts on this ball. Looking for a first pitch fastball. He gets it there and goes right out the front door over the center field wall.
And then Cueto bangs one into center field, a base hit. Second time he's been on today.
Hey, the home runs that come off of Kyle McClellan coming into this ballgame, he's been very, very stingy with long balls. Rasmus has a chance, almost a chance. Well, how many times do we see Jim Edmonds pull a ball back just like that in that same spot? But coming into this ballgame today, Kyle McClellan had given up only 3 home runs all year long. That's in 7 ball games, 6 starts in one game that was kind of a start but wasn't. Covering 43 plus innings, and he's given up 3 this afternoon.
Well, you bring up that name, Jim Edmonds, a guy who came on board last year. You talk about burning some bridges, and maybe he doesn't care. But some of the comments he made after some positive comments about the Reds initially during an interview during the offseason. There's a one-hopper down to third. They'll get one, and they cannot double up Stubbs. But by reading between the lines, Edmonds certainly was implying that the Reds second baseman Brandon Phillips was hurting his team more than helping his team. And then the comments he made about some of the Reds medical staff is unbelievable. You've got people from all over the United States, professional athletes, that are coming in here to have the Reds doctors, and especially Tim Kremchek, perform a surgery on them trying to extend their professional careers. And for Edmonds to make some of the comments he made during the offseason were way out of line.
I was surprised to read those.
Way out of line.
I was very surprised because Edmonds did not seem like that type of guy when he was here. In fact, over all the years that we've known him, Tom, as a visiting player, even in the other league, you met him when he was with the Angels. He seemed like a guy that had a little bit better idea than that. But obviously it was bothering him. Well, he got picked off the last time he was in a situation like that, and Drew Stubbs gets the bag that time. 13 of them.
And only one time has been thrown out attempting to steal. He's been on base all 3 times today. And there's a liner caught by Theriot. Try to double up Stubbs. Not to be. 2 out. Well, we talked about last night where Kyle Loesch was able to retire Votto in each of his first 2 times up. Of course, last night it was on strikeouts, but today Votto 0 for his first 2, a fly ball to left and a double play to end the 3rd inning, and now they're going to talk over what to do to him or do with him. With the base open and a right-handed batter and Brandon Phillips on deck. He'll start out pitching to Votto. Pretty clear they're not going to give him anything to hit. 2 breaking balls with Molina set up about 4 inches off the outside corner, hoping that Votto would chase.
Yeah, this is one of the things that the Cardinals really do quite a bit, Tom. Instead of oftentimes, now this will be an intentional pass, but a lot of times instead of an intentional pass, Tony La Russa, or in this case Joe Patini, would just tell Molina, just go ahead and set up outside and we'll throw him 4 pitches down and away, and if he wants to get himself out, then go more power to him. There's a couple of reasons why you do that, but the main reason is that you don't want to make the guy in the on-deck circle any bigger and more tuned in than he would normally be. When you walk a batter ahead of you, what the manager is saying is that we think that the guy we're walking is a way better player than you, and we can get you out. And a lot of times that works in reverse to a hitter. I mean, he takes that challenge, and he meets it pretty good. So I think that that's the way they do it. But in this case, it's obvious they want to be able to face a right-hander in Phillips.
And he makes him pay with a base hit into left field. Stubbs will score 4-0 Reds. And Brandon excited about that. Boy, he has been money against St. Louis in 5 games so far this year.
And he gets a breaking ball on the first pitch, and he stays right with it. A good low ball hitter is Brandon Phillips. He drives a run in with 2 out. And those in Cardinal Nation that are watching this ball game, they would love to see anybody but Brandon Phillips drive in these runs.
Man, is he having a year. I mean, he is just having a great year. There is nobody right now today in the National League that plays second base as an all-around player that is anywhere close to Brandon Phillips' category right now. Nobody. Utley has put up better offensive numbers through the years, but they're not a ton better. They're better, but not a ton. Of course, he's been out with an injury, and they're hoping to get him back. But when you throw in the base running, you throw in the defense. Right now, with Utley not playing, I mean, Phillips is light years ahead of the rest of the pack in the National League. You know, in fact, you look at his numbers over the last 4 years since he became the Reds' everyday second baseman, and you stack him up against all second basemen in Major League Baseball, not just National Leaguers. He is in the top 3 or 4 in every major category offensively. And when you compare him defensively to the other 2 or 3 guys, and we're talking about primarily Robinson Cano and Chase Utley, when you throw in the defense, well, that's where Phillips really stands alone. Reds have scored in 3 of their 5 innings today against McClellan, who came in unbeaten on the year at 5-0. An ERA of under 3.5. He has given up 4 runs on 7 hits. And the Reds are looking for more with 2 on and 2 out. It's 1-2 on Jay Bruce. This will end the inning. What a start today for the Reds, and especially Ramon Hernandez. A pair of home runs. Reds lead 4-0. Well, time to answer our AT&T trivia question. Since 2009, what two National League players have led their team in average on-base percentage, RBIs, walks, everything? How about that? It's hard to believe Albert Pujols wasn't one of the two. Not a surprise for Votto, but Adrian Gonzalez, of course, no longer in San Diego.
Yeah, what category was it that Pujols did not lead his team in? Look it up and get back to me.
You know, without looking, I bet you last year it would have been batting average for him. I'm probably wrong on that. Pujols last year hit .312. And where did Holiday end up last year? He was at right at .312 as well. So somebody else in that Cardinal lineup had a better average than that. Who would have had a better average than that?
Well, maybe you can take it out more decimal points.
You're right.
Like when you used to talk to Pete Rose about his batting average, he wouldn't say 320. He'd say 323, 458.
And of course, I'm referring to last year. It could have been 2 years ago.
Right.
You know what?
Who cares?
Holiday hit .350 that year, but it was only in a little over half a year after coming over.
Yeah. Three pretty good first basemen we're talking about there. Well, he is just pounding these right-handers inside, especially the guys with the long swings like Tyler Green. I mean, when you can throw a fastball like Johnny Cueto, a two-seam fastball, but he is dialing it up there anywhere from 92 to 94 with some hair on it. I mean, coming right in on your knuckles. Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting products for your menu, inspired solutions, better results, JTM.
Foul on a play by Green. He had that single to lead off the third inning. And he is one of only two base runners in the game for Johnny Cueto. Cueto walked Ryan Theriot to start the game. And after that single by Green, he is now retired 10 in a row.
Strikeout number 4, 95, right down the heart of the plate, overpowering.
You know, by the way, quite an astute observation you brought up about the 312 versus 312, but going further down the decimal line. Holiday hit 312.08, Pujols 311.75, rounded up to 312. How about that? When you're on top of your game, that's that St. Xavier math, that thinking from St. X again.
I went to St. X back in the days before calculators.
Yeah, those were cave drawings back then.
No, those are slide rules on our belts. I couldn't use a slide rule right now for anything in the world except maybe to draw a straight line with.
Gone swinging McClellan. Back-to-back strikeouts for Johnny Cueto here in the 6th inning.
Just about twice as many strikes as balls for Johnny this afternoon. You know, we talked, Tom, coming into this ball game all week long in our pregame show about his emotions. He has kept them under control. He is so totally focused today. This guy is controlling the ball game right now.
Sixth inning, and now it's time for the Coors Light Freeze Cam. Brandon doing it all today. Home run in the 2nd. They intentionally walked Votto to get to him in the 5th inning. Very next pitch, a single to knock in another run. Our Coors Light Freeze Cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Scott rolling 1 out of 2, single to right field his last time up. He'll be followed by Johnny Gomes and Ramon Hernandez. Today, the first time that Kyle McClellan, who, as Chris brought up earlier, has pitched primarily out of the bullpen in his major league career, exclusively, in fact, until this year. He had only allowed a total of 3 home runs in 43 2/3 innings coming into play today. He has given up 3 home runs in a game for the first time today. Boy, it's nice play by Descalso. Well, Kroger and the Reds are proud to team up to offer you a great value this year. Check-in session stands throughout the ballpark for the Kroger meal deal, which includes a hot dog, a bag of chips, 16-ounce Coke, and during this homestand, David sunflower seeds. You get all that for just $7. Another hard hit ball to the left side of the infield, and this time Terrio makes a play. 2 away.
Well, as big as this ball game is for Kyle McClellan, he's got bigger things on his mind. His family is here in Cincinnati to watch him pitch today. His mom and dad ready to go, and after the ball game, they'll be waiting in a car, and he will get in that car and he'll drive to St. Louis tonight to be there for the birth of a baby. Wow. His wife Bridget being induced tomorrow to have a baby back in St. Louis. He's from St. Louis area. It's really a great local story for the Cardinals to have a young pitcher as fine as Kyle McClellan be in their organization, step up the way he has this year. The Reds are showing no mercy on him here today.
And certainly our thoughts and prayers, a happy, healthy delivery to the entire McClellan clan.
Absolutely.
A couple of home runs today for Ramon Hernandez. The second time he's done it wearing a Reds uniform. Did so last May the 29th of 2010, and the 9th time in his career he's hit 2 or more home runs in a game. He has never hit 3 home runs in a game. He should get a pitch to hit right here.
They're not throwing him that fastball anymore. That's a 3-1 breaking ball. You know you've made it to a completely different plateau when they start firing up 3-1 breaking balls on you.
Back-to-back 3-2 breaking balls. One of them he fouls away. Takes that one for a walk. 3rd walk of the game for McClellan. One of those an intentional pass. And here's Cueto, who's been on twice. Hit the ball very hard twice as Cueto.
He could really have been awarded a base hit that first time. Ryan Terrio, the shortstop, had to go far to his left to knock the ball down, but he couldn't keep it under control.
Slow tapper this time, and that's out. A man left. We go to the 7th. Cueto and the Reds in front 4-0. TNT by Cincinnati Children's in the top 10 for all selected pediatric specialties in U.S. News and World Report's 2010 Best Children's Hospitals. By your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com. And by Wendy's, you know when it's real. Well, Johnny Cueto has been real good through the front 6 innings. Has allowed 2 base runners. And since allowing his only hit to Tyler Green in the 3rd inning, he has retired 11 in a row, getting 12 outs, retiring 11 straight. Second time Colby Rasmus has led off an inning. 1 pitch and 1 out on a liner to Votto.
Again, Tom, a lot of early count swings for the Cardinals, mainly because Johnny Cueto's out there throwing strikes. This Cardinal team will work you. They have a feeling that you're not going to go right after them, that you're going to get behind the count 1-0, 2-0, 3-1. They'll wait you out.
Cueto has taken care of Pujols twice today. Here's a fastball on the outside corner, a called strike.
Well, he's made some great pitches to the middle of this order.
Oh, goodness, what a play by Cueto.
He wants to watch the board to see him do it again. Just kind of throw your glove up there and see if you can grab it. And look what I found. You might want to buy a lottery ticket tonight.
You're right. Right now, Cueto trying to zero in on a 1-2-3 7th again through the heart of the order. And boy, he reared back and brought his best gas of the day there to Holiday. 97-mile-per-hour fastball. Only the 2nd start for Cueto since coming off the disabled list. The Reds played the first month and a week of this year without 2/5 of their starting rotation. Homer Bailey twice and now Cueto twice. It is inconceivable they could pitch any better. Bailey has allowed 1 run. Cueto has not allowed a run yet.
Well, what they've both done, Tom, is kind of, it seems like they're maturing at the same time. They're backing off their full effort.
There's a jam shot that'll fall in, a base hit, and then Gomes over to cut it off. Here comes Holiday. Throw there, and not in time.
Goes to show you how strong Matt Holliday is, because that ball did get in on the hands a little bit. It found the seam. I think it got out to left center field a little faster than Johnny Gomes thought.
That guy can hit.
He can hit. But what Cueto and Bailey have done is that they found a nice cruise control speed. And for Bailey, it's around 90 to 92 miles an hour. For Johnny Cueto, might be a couple of miles an hour faster. But what they're not doing is trying to go out there and throw as hard as they can on every pitch, which is what they did when they first came up to the major leagues. And that's why you stick with a good arm like that for a little while, because you hope that they finally get it, the light comes on, and they become pitchers. And when they do, and they need to reach back for 97, and they've got it, now you've got something special.
The first time since the 3rd inning that Cueto has pitched out of the stretch, and here we are with 2 outs in the 7th. Still a ball game now. It's only a 4-0 score. You'll need to tell Dusty Baker or Brian Price that. With a runner at second and 2 men out. One big swing of the bat, and the Cardinals are right back in this game. Berkman has popped to right and popped up to left.
It's been so long since Johnny Cueto has been in a stretch. He wants to make sure he's got it right with Ramon Hernandez. In fact, they've not had a runner on second base all game long. So what normally happens, you get a runner on second. So rather than just putting down one sign and having the possibility of that runner at second relay to the hitter what's coming, you go through a sequence of signs to make it a little more difficult. And Johnny wants to make sure he's on the same page with Ramon Hernandez before he fires it in there.
And he fired it in there. And this will be the final out in the 7th. Johnny Cueto. 7 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball, and this dandy with a glove. Well, don't forget, after every Reds game, stay with Fox Sports Ohio with Reds Live, the post-game version. Brought to you by Kings Honda and the Kings Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com. I mean, if it happens big, we'll have it for you live right on the field like Joey Votto last night with Jeff Pecoro right after the game-winning base hit. Changes for the Cardinals in right field. It'll be John Jay taking over for Lance Berkman, part of a double switch, and taking over on the mound. Been the Cardinal closer the last 2 years, no longer. Ryan Franklin.
Well, you can see from the numbers why Ryan Franklin has lost his job as the closer. 1 for 5 in saves, 0-3 record, an earned run average north of 9, and he's not striking anybody out, which he's normally not a strikeout pitcher anyway. He's normally a guy that will change speeds, work his breaking ball in, get some easy outs, some ground balls. But he's trying to find it. And I would still think, Tom, that he's probably their best answer for the very back end of their bullpen, just based on what they have as far as experience and what he has done in the past. But he's got to get it right before that happens.
Cruz Tubbs to lead it off. The single, walked, reached on a fielder's choice, stole a base, scored a run. 3-1 now on Drew Stubbs.
You know, it's easy to forget the time that Ryan Franklin wore a Reds uniform, 2006. He came over from the Philadelphia Phillies in a deal for cash along with another minor leaguer that really never went anywhere. And after he was with the Reds, pitched for them for 20 ball games in 2006. Picked up a couple of saves. Really was rather unimpressive. Ended up being a free agent after the year, and that's when he signed with the Cardinals.
And he's had a nice run up with the Cardinals until this year.
He did. That first year with the Cardinals in 07, he didn't do all that much as far as the back end of the bullpen, but he appeared in 69 ball games and had a real good earned run average. So the next year they stuck him in the closer spot. He saved 17. And the next year after that, he saved 38.
Down the right field line, extra bases here for Stubbs. Took a favorable bounce for the Cardinals, so it'll just be 2. If that thing kicks to the right near the line, that's 3 standing up.
Boy, this guy is just so impressive. I mean, you have the tools that Drew Stubbs has where you can run the way he can, and he stays on the fastball like that and drives it as hard as he does opposite field. There just are only a handful of players in the game with all those tools. And you're seeing a superstar in the making right there.
Now Giannis, we'll see if they ask him to bunt. They didn't the last time. He does this time, and it's executed to perfection. Intentionally walk Votto again to take their chances with Brandon Phillips, and you know Phillips is over there. I mean, he's waiting for the 4th ball in this at bat to be thrown. He can't wait to get to the plate. Phillips homer to left center for the first run of the game, leading off the 2nd inning. Popped up to right in the 4th. And then after a Votto intentional walk in front of him in the 5th inning. The very first pitch in Phillips at bat, he ripped one through the hole into left field, a base hit to drive in Drew Stubbs. McClellan, 6 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, all earned. Walked 3, 1 intentionally, had a strikeout. And right now in line for what would be his first loss of the year. Franklin ahead of Phillips, 0-2. Sellout crowd on hand here at Great American Ballpark. Reds lead 4-0, batting in the bottom of the 7th inning and looking for more. Runners on the corners and 1 out. A win today, and the Reds would not only make it 2 in a row over the Cardinals, they would leapfrog the Cardinals into first place in the National League Central.
Good setup pitch there by Franklin. Will he go down and away with the breaking ball? That's what Molina wants.
Runner goes, and there's a fly ball into right. More than enough to have a third RBI of the day for Brandon Phillips. Drew Stubbs safe at home, safe and secure in New York life. Franklin's foot. A scoring inning for the Reds. At the end of 7, Phillips and the Reds with a 5-0 lead. Blast. Ramon Hernandez. A pair of home runs here today. Leading off the 3rd and leading off the 5th. The Reds have hit 3 of them in the game. And the Reds lead 5-0. Johnny Cueto begins the 8th inning with just his 85th pitch of the game. He's allowed 2 hits. A single by Tyler Green leading off the 3rd. Fly ball into right. Playable for Bruce. And then that 2-out double by Holiday in the 7th inning. Boy, if you're a Cardinal fan, and I know there aren't many of you out there watching our broadcast right now, but if you are, this is the ultimate double shot to the ribs today. Brandon Phillips has knocked in 3 runs. And Johnny Cueto is working on a 2-hit shutout in the 8th. Cueto tried the same thing again. Bobbled by Giannis and thrown out in time. That'll be an error on Giannis.
A rare error on Paul Giannis right here. He usually makes this play in his sleep. He looks like he fields the ball a little flat-footed, and when it bobbles around in his glove, hurries to throw. I'm not so sure you're going to get him on the second spot anyway. Descalso running hard down the line.
So now Tyler Green after Descalso reaches via the air. John Jay waiting on deck. Well, we invite you to come to Cincinnati for the Reds and stay for much more fun. Make it a home run weekend and visit the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. Rolling off his glove, and they don't get it out. So things get a little ugly here for the Reds on defense in the 8th inning. Back-to-back errors by Giannis and Rowland.
This is really one of the better defensive alignments in the National League right there. Scott Rowland, an unusual and very unusual error right there. Not an easy play by Rowland. That was one of those short hops that you normally see him make. You don't even think about it. What it does from Johnny Cueto's standpoint, though, is it costs him more pitches. Now he's up over the 90 pitch mark. He would be out of the inning normally if both those plays were made. And with a good possibility of coming back in for the 9th and trying to pick up his second career shutout.
That'll bring up John Jay, batting for the first time since coming on defensively, part of that double switch replacing Lance Berkman. No activity, none whatsoever. Not a single body has gotten off the bench. The entire bullpen, and of course the bullpen coach down there, Juan Porky Lopez. In the air right field, and all of a sudden the Cardinals are in this game. So errors by Giannis and Rowland allow Jay to bat, and all of a sudden it's a 5-3 game on the home run by Jay. My, oh my, how change happens so quickly.
Well, you were talking about John Jay last night, Tom, about how his playing time has been severely diminished since the addition of Lance Berkman to the Cardinal roster. This young man can hit. He had some big hits last year against the Reds, especially in St. Louis. He really wound up to hit that ball and hit a bomb out of here. Now it's a 2-run game.
There's Terrios. Walk, bounced into a double play and flied out to center field.
Well, that's got the activity down the Reds bullpen. Looks like Porky answered the phone, and he's going to answer the bell down there and get some pitchers ready.
Popped up short right. 2 out. It's a huge batter now for Johnny Cueto. I mean, to say the least. He'll lay it all on the line here with Colby Rasmus. Because now all of a sudden in a 2-run game, you know who's on deck. And he's fallen behind 2-0. Maybe trying to overdo it here to Rasmus. That fastball at 95.
Brian Price got to go out and probably address the exact same thing you mentioned right there. Don't try too hard on this guy. We all know who's in the on-deck circle. We all know who's coming after that, too, Holiday and Berkman.
First visit this entire afternoon to the mound for pitching coach Brian Price. I mean, Cueto just cruising throughout the entire day, even here in this 8th inning. Should have been out of the inning 1-2-3. Instead, a 1-out error by Yanish, followed by an error by Scott Rowland. The 3-run home run by Jay. And a 5-0 lead is all of a sudden down to just 2 runs. 3-1 to Rasmus. He may take another pitch. And now all of a sudden Albert Pujols bats, representing the tying run, and that's all for Cueto.
Yeah.
It's really too bad. Of course, your defense will save you runs, and every now and again they can cost you some runs. But what an outing today by Johnny Cueto.
Well, the only time that I've seen Johnny Cueto pitch better than he has today was the 1-hit shutout that he pitched against the Pittsburgh Pirates last year. But this is a much better offensive team than he faced last year in that game, and a much bigger game and a build-up game going into it. Great job by number 47. Let's see if the bullpen can get the trick done. Johnny Cueto coming off the mound amidst a standing ovation here at Great American Ballpark. He'll get some high fives in the dugout. Great job for Cueto overall. 7 2/3 of 1 earned run baseball. Even though the Reds made 2 errors that would have gotten them out of this inning, that home run goes as an earned run.
No, it doesn't. No, they'd have been a second and third outs in the inning.
All right, then it doesn't.
But all of a sudden, all those numbers, I mean, as great as he was today, now all of a sudden you're staring down the barrel of Albert Pujols representing the tying run against reliever Logan Andrewson.
Yeah, they seem to do it to you every time, the Cardinals. You think you're cruising along, all of a sudden they create a situation sometime in the middle of the ball game. You know, Bronson Arroyo touched on that before his start with the Cardinals and gave them a lot of credit and a lot of respect by doing so. It says, you know, it's one of the toughest lineups you're going to get. And even if you're having a great day, somewhere in that ball game, they're going to present an opportunity for themselves to get right back into it.
I know so many Reds fans recall that game, 3 years ago, and the Reds looked like they might be a bona fide contender in the National League Central. And Pujols hit that grand slam. Remember, off of David Weathers, if I recall.
Yeah.
2-1 the count on Drusick trying to retire Pujols. And there's a high bouncer off the glove of Roland. And Rasmus will slam on the brakes at second base. Everything going the Cardinals' way here against what many believe is the best defensive team in the league. Now this is a really tough play here for Roland.
The ball just went up so high there wasn't a whole lot he was going to be able to do with it. If he comes down and gets it out of his glove quickly, he probably has Pujols at first base. Nervous time for the Red skipper.
So here's Matt Holliday. He is right now the best hitter in this lineup. Pujols has had the better career, although Holliday's nothing to sneeze at. But right now today he is their best hitter. That is a foul ball.
Dusty knows the matchup, and Andrusic knows the matchup. Probably Matt Holliday, too. These guys have faced each other before, and they're going to get him out this time.
Behind the plate, Andrusic nails down the 8th inning and bangs that fist into his mitt. Well, all Reds fans 14 and younger get to Great American Ballpark Sunday, June the 5th. The Dodgers in town to take on the Reds. The first 10,000 kids 14 and younger get a Gapper pillowcase thanks to Meyer. Those things are sweet. 513-381 Reds, a number to call, or log on to Reds.com. Scary times here in the top of the 8th inning. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 8th. Johnny Cueto allows 3 runs, all unearned, in 7 2/3 innings. It is the longest outing by a Red starter this year, and only his second start since coming off the DL. So here you have Bailey and Cueto. A total of 4 starts, both of them with a pair each, since coming off the DL. And they have allowed 1 earned run. A total of 4 runs in 4 starts, with the 3 unearned runs today. And the first guy there to give Cueto a big hug when he came out of the game was Homer Bailey. And Chris, this is exactly what you talked about. The first time that Bailey came back and when we were in Chicago. That one into center field and it falls in front of Rasmus. But before that start by Bailey and knowing that Cueto was coming back in Chicago, you made a point. Hey, look, you got everybody now healthy. And that competition among starting pitchers, and maybe the Reds can get on that kind of roll, and that they are right now.
Yeah, it does two things in my mind, Tom. Number one, it gives your team a swagger. You get two guys back who can throw mid-90s when they want to, and they're young guns, and that's one real good feeling for the team overall. But when you're looking at the starting rotation, those five right there, nobody wants to be the guy to blow it and be the one that goes out there, pitches 4 innings and give up 5 runs. So you see what Cueto did today, and Travis Wood tomorrow's thinking, all right, I got to fall right in line right here. So there's a little better, it's a better kind of competition, and it's the best kind of competition you can have in a starting rotation. Just missed it.
Roland Bluff's tagging up. Good strong throw by Holiday, and Johnny Gomes a hitless day in 4 at-bats.
Hey, last 2 at-bats though for Johnny Gomes. As much as he has struggled, his last 2 at-bats he's had much better swings. Hit a ball hard at the shortstop last time. I know it's hard to get excited about a fly ball to left field, but you're looking for something positive. That's a little better than what it has been.
Big round of applause for Ramon Hernandez. Why not? Solo home run to left in the 3rd. Solo home run to center in the 5th, and then drew a walk in the 6th inning. A 2-run game after the 3-run home run by John Jay in the top of this inning. Series finale tomorrow. Regular start time, if you will, for a Sunday afternoon game here in Cincinnati, 1:10. Second time this year, Travis Wood is locked up with Chris Carpenter. And while neither starter figured in the decision of the first meeting, the Reds won that game on a Saturday in St. Louis. Two and one on Ramon Hernandez. 3-1. Fred Lewis has moved into the on-deck circle. We have a pitcher spot on Drusick coming up next. The glove of Terrio, it'll trickle into center field, allowing Rowan to advance. So it's a 3-hit game for Hernandez. And now the Reds with 2 on and 1 out, and Lewis will bat for Andrusic.
Well, Ramon Hernandez has been on each and every time he has come to the plate today. Have a day. And he hits this ball a rocket right off to the left of the shortstop Terrio, who looks like he's going to be able to flag that ball down, but it ricochets off his glove.
Logan Andrusic got the final out, and what a huge out it was with 2 on. In the 8th inning, allowed that infield hit to Albert Pujols, and then got Matt Holliday on a pop-up behind the plate. Well, the home plate umpire, Andy Fletcher, was going out there to break up the meeting, not aware that Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, had come out of the Cardinal third base side dugout and signaled for the bullpen. So Jason Mott, the loser in last night's game, will come on to face Fred Lewis. Reds lead 5-3. Well, this week NASCAR on Fox moves to Dover. Kyle Busch will try and defend his title and bring home his 3rd checkered flag of the year. It's delivered by Pizza Hut tomorrow, the pre-race show at 12:30 in high definition on Fox. Now the Reds with a 5-3 lead. They have 2 on. Scott Rowland at second base, Ramon Hernandez at first, Fred Lewis coming up against Jason Mott. He got the loss here last night.
Hard throwing right-hander, converted catcher from when he signed as a minor leaguer.
Well, every time you see Jason Mott, I'm always looking around for a cup of decaf. This guy is all over the place. Fred Lewis got the start here last night and looked good. He was taken down as part of a double switch, but Lewis had a couple of hits. And he has another hit here to bring in another run. Rowland being waved around. Here comes the throw. They're not going to get him. They have the runner now caught, Hernandez, and they'll tag him out. But a pinch hit RBI single and a big one for Fred Lewis.
What a nice short swing by Fred Lewis. Boy, he has come in here and he has been so impressive. Coming right back through the box with a low inside fastball. Mott jumping out of the way of that ball. And he'll bring a run home and rolling. Hernandez will round the bag a little bit. This is where Albert Pujols comes into play. He is all over the place in the infield, cuts the ball off really whenever he wants. And in this case, he gets Hernandez into a rundown. Second time in 2 nights, he's done the same thing to Ramon. But Freddie Lewis comes up with a big run batted in right there.
So the lead swells from 2-3. 2 are out in the inning, and here now is Drew Stubbs. a good day for Stubbs. A single in the first, although he was picked off. Walked in a third, reached on a fielder's choice, stole a base, scored a run in the 5th inning, and then doubled and scored again in the 7th. Look ahead of the Cardinal 9th inning. They have the pitcher spot due to lead things off. Then Yadier Molina and the third baseman Daniel Descalso. Two and one is Stubbs. Two and one on Stubbs. Two and two on Drew Stubbs. A lot of attention over there to Fred Lewis. With 2 outs here in the inning.
He's got a guy that can hurt you in a hurry. I can't see Jason Mott dividing his attention at all. He ought to be worrying about Drew Stubbs.
Three and two. So you know Lewis will be running here on a 3-2 pitch with 2 away in the inning. Although Pujols apparently is going to continue to hold him on. Do it again.
You know, you watch the Cardinals play defense, and what they do is they try to keep you from scoring any runs at all. And this is just one thing that they'll do right here by having Albert Pujols hold the runner on. You know, if you let him go without holding the runner on, and Fred Lewis gets a huge jump, a long single will score him from first base. But if you hold him on, you may even throw over once just to shorten that lead up just a step or two and make it a lot tougher for him to come around to score even on an extra base hit.
There's a base hit into center field, and Lewis will make the turn and move on to third, so the inning will continue. Reds now have at least 10 hits in each of their last 5 games. It is the first time outside of that 5-game winning streak to open the season where you're starting to see the Reds offensively start gaining consistency. I mean, they've been a team that's been, you know, really, really hot or ice cold from an offensive standpoint through the first month of this year, but now 5 straight games, 10 or more hits.
Well, you know, for the Reds, it all starts at the top of the order. And when they struggled last year, it was when their leadoff guy was struggling and Dusty Baker was beginning to manipulate the lineup a little bit, who was going to lead off in that #1 spot. Well, Drew Stubbs has been on base 5 times today, 3 times yesterday. When you get on ahead of Joey Votto and company, you're going to score some runs.
Of course, their lineup is still not set up the way they would prefer their lineup, meaning Brandon Phillips in that 2 hole. Scott Rowland back in the number 4 spot. Rowland just a lengthy stay on the disabled list. 2 more hits today after returning last night with 3 hits. Runner goes first to second, fouled away. But it's now 7 games in a row. You're talking about Stubbs. 7 games in a row he's been on base at least twice.
They were so concerned coming out of spring training as to how he was going to handle it. He didn't even look good in spring training in the leadoff spot. That's why they were talking about all different possibilities. But he looks like he's settling in just fine.
Has come in and quickly allowed 2 hits, one of them to knock in a run. The only out he's recorded is in that rundown play on the single. Lewis a pinch hit run scoring single at third. Stubbs over at first, still 0-2 to Giannis. And a wild pitch will bring in another run.
Jason Mott just throwing the ball right by Yadier Molina. So St. Louis comes across with 3 in the top of the 8th, and Reds are answering right here with 2 more in the bottom.
So a 2-run 8th indeed. Cardinals bat in the 9th. Reds 7, St. Louis 3. You'll watch this on every highlight show all night long tonight. This one made by Johnny Cueto off the bat of Albert Pujols in the 7th inning. Why not smile? Well, the Reds have lots to smile about based on the early returns of Johnny Cueto and Homer Bailey. Oh, goodness, how good have they been? Chris Heisey comes on defensively in left field and taking over on the mound. Not a save situation with a 4-run lead, but the closer in nonetheless, Francisco Cordero.
You still like to put a nice nail in it right here by going through this lineup 1, 2, 3 and taking it on in.
Punto to bat for Jason Mott. He got to start last night. Oh, what a great play he made in that game at second base. Punto was aboard twice, drawing a pair of walks. Steady player for a long time in Minnesota.
Second game in a row, the Cardinals have double switched Lance Berkman out of the game.
Of course, they took him out of the game and put John Jay in the game.
Yeah, Jay hits a 3-run homer, so that part of it worked out pretty good.
It's going to be a tough play here. Heisey coming hard. He'll get it. In 3 at-bats. Cardinals only have 4 hits in the game. Now, they'd be sitting on a goose egg right now had the Reds not made a couple of errors in front of that home run. Tapper down to Roland. The Cardinals down to their final out in this sellout crowd of 41,307 will rise collectively as one, anticipating a final out and a new tenant atop the National League Central Division. Right center field. Stubbs will run it down for the final out of the game. And the Cincinnati Reds go from second place into first place in the National League Central Division with a 7-3 convincing win here today over the Cardinals, and it's back-to-back wins over their division rivals.
They made a statement last night coming back from 4 runs down. Today it was much more like a workmanlike win, just going out and taking care of business on the backs of Johnny Cueto and Brandon Phillips and Ramon Hernandez. Nice day at the ballpark for those guys.
Well, the 2 most disliked Reds undeniably among Cardinal fans, Brandon Phillips and Johnny Cueto. Give him the jab and then a hook to the jaw in this 7-3 win today. We're back with more in a moment.